All right, let's just get right into it. We need to talk about the truly bizarre, almost nonsensical economics of this whole AI boom. I mean, we're living in a world where a company can be worth $500 billion while its main product is actively losing money on every single person who uses it. So, how on earth is that possible? Let's break it down.
And this is the quote that really kicks the whole thing off. This is Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, just casually admitting it. This isn't some leaked secret, it's practically part of the business plan. And this one statement, it frames the central mystery we're going to try and solve today. Why is everybody pouring billions of dollars into a technology that for right now looks like a financial black hole? So to really understand the madness, you have to go back to one specific day, November 30th, 2022. It probably seemed like just another Wednesday, right? But a small company, OpenAI, was about to drop something that would set the entire tech industry on fire.
And what happened next was, well, it was just completely unprecedented. ChatGPT launches, and in 5 days, just 5 days, it hits 1 million users. But that's not even the crazy part. Look at that next number. In 60 days, 2 months, it hit 100 million users. That made it the fastest growing application in human history, period.
I mean, just to put that in perspective for you, to get to that same 100 million user mark, it took Instagram 2.5 years. It took Facebook 4.5 years. ChatGPT did it in the time it takes to, I don't know, get really into a new TV show. And that speed, that absolutely explosive growth, it sent a shockwave of pure panic through Silicon Valley. Especially inside Google. Reports from inside the company described a complete meltdown. And here's the thing. They had invented the core technology. The transformer model that makes all of this work, that was them. But they were terrified of the risks, the bad press, the lawsuits, what the AI might say or do. OpenAI? They didn't have those fears. They just shipped it. And that changed everything.
And when panic on that kind of scale hits Silicon Valley, only one thing ever happens next. A frantic, almost desperate gold rush. Everybody with a checkbook just starts trying to buy their way into the future, no matter what it costs.
And the numbers, they were just staggering. Microsoft dropped $10 billion into OpenAI. Amazon started pouring billions into a competitor called Anthropic. And the venture capitalists, oh man, they were funding anything. If you just put the letters A and I in your pitch deck, you were basically printing money. It didn't even matter if you had a real product.
Of course, this frenzy created a massive problem. All of this AI stuff needs to run on these very specialized computer chips called GPUs, and demand just exploded overnight. All of a sudden, these little circuit boards became more valuable than gold. Seriously. There were year-long waiting lists, even black markets popping up for them. It was wild.
And this slide, this really shows you the hidden cost of all this. Renting just one of these super powerful GPUs is about $3 an hour. Sounds cheap, right? But a small startup, they need hundreds. So you rent 500 of them, that's $1,500 an hour. That works out to over $1.1 million a month. And that's just to rent the computers you need to even get your foot in the door.
Which brings us right back to the central problem. All of this spending, all of this investment, all this hype, it's all built on a business model that is just burning through billions and billions of dollars.
And here we are, back at what we're calling the $200 problem. Every time someone signs up for OpenAI's premium subscription, the company loses money. Why? Because the cost to run the computers for that user is actually more than the subscription fee. And here's the really crucial part, the paradox of it all. The more popular the product gets, the faster the company loses money. It's completely backwards.
I mean, just look at this chart. It lays out the scale of the problem perfectly. In 2024, OpenAI brought in a pretty respectable $3.7 billion in revenue. Good for them. But now look at the red bar. Their losses were $5 billion. They didn't just not make a profit, they lost way more money than they even brought in. And the costs going forward they're just almost impossible to comprehend. Industry forecasts are projecting that to build out all the infrastructure for this AI revolution, we're talking data centers, cooling, power, all those GPUs, it's going to cost $6.7 trillion by 2030. That's trillion with a T. So to justify that kind of insane spending, the whole industry needs to grow its revenue by 10 times in just a few years. It's a growth curve so steep, one skeptical investor put it perfectly with this quote, "It's less of a business plan and more of a desperate, desperate hope."
So, okay, the money doesn't make any sense. But what about the tech itself? Is it perfect? Well, not exactly. If you look underneath all the slick demos, we're starting to see some pretty serious cracks in the code that make you question the whole thing. The biggest issue is this thing they call hallucinations. This is where the AI will just confidently make stuff up. It'll cite legal cases that never happened, it'll quote from scientific papers that don't exist. In one famous case, Google's AI literally told people to put glue on their pizza, a fact it learned from a joke on Reddit. You can't make this stuff up.
And then, of course, the lawsuits started showing up. The New York Times, Getty Images, authors, musicians, artists, they all started suing. And they're all asking the same basic question. Did you train your AI on my copyrighted work without my permission? And the answer, it seems, is a pretty resounding yes. Okay, so you've got a technology that's unreliable, that's legally questionable, and that burns through billions of dollars. This looks and smells like a classic tech bubble, right? So here's the big question. Why hasn't it popped yet?
And this is the absolute key difference. The dot-com bubble back in the 90s, that was funded by venture capitalists, and eventually they just ran out of money. This AI bubble, though, it's being bankrolled by big tech, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. And these guys have seemingly endless reserves of cash from their other businesses, like cloud computing and online ads. So here's the best way to think about it. It's like a really high-stakes poker game. But in this game, all the main players, Microsoft, Google, Meta, they've all shown up to the table with an infinite stack of chips.
And this creates this really bizarre stalemate. You see, for Google, AI is an existential threat to its search engine, the golden goose that prints all its money. For Microsoft, it's a direct challenge to its whole empire. So they're not investing to be profitable right now. They're investing out of the pure terror of being the one company that misses the next huge technological shift. Because if AI is the next internet, the player who folds becomes the next BlackBerry. So nobody folds. Everyone just keeps raising the stakes.
But if nobody's willing to fold, does that mean the game just goes on forever? Well, not necessarily. No bubble in history has ever lasted forever. Something eventually has to give. Which leads us to the potential triggers, the things that could cause this whole thing to finally, well, snap. Historically, these things tend to end in one of three ways. First, the money suddenly dries up, maybe because interest rates go way up and it gets expensive to borrow. Second, you get a big, really embarrassing public meltdown, a spectacular failure that scares everyone off, kind of like the FTX collapse did for crypto. Or third, one of the giants at that poker table just gets tired of losing billions and says, all right, that's enough.
But right now, big tech is still spending like there's no tomorrow. We haven't had that big meltdown moment yet, and nobody has folded. The tension is just building and building. We're not at the explosion yet. We're in that quiet moment, the inhale before the scream, which leaves all of us with the final trillion-dollar question. So when does this whole thing explode?